Welcome back to the Deep Dive. So today we're doing what we always do, taking a huge stack of sources, ancient research, some really fascinating notes,
Yeah.
and we're going to try to pull out the key insights for you.
And today we are really getting into the mechanics of mental clarity. We're looking at the practice of mindfulness of breathing, but we're also tackling this huge philosophical puzzle at its heart.
It's a big one.
Yeah. If the whole point of the practice is to realize not self, that there's no little I in the driver's seat, then why does it demand so much intense, rigorous effort? I mean, who is it that's doing all this work?
It really is the ultimate mental martial art, isn't it? And the material we've pulled, it comes straight from the historical blueprints. We're talking about the ancient Buddhist discourses, the suttas and nikayas. And these are not, abstract poems. They're technical manuals for the mind.
They really are.
Yeah.
And they tell you right away what the stakes are. The tradition is so consistent on this. Core ideas like the Four Noble Truths, suffering, its cause, its end, and the path to its end, they made sure those were in every major collection.
They're the anchor.
Completely. They anchor the entire system.
Okay, so here's our mission for this deep dive. We're going to unpack the practical steps of mindfulness of breathing, Ānāpānasati. We want to see it as this systematic engine for mental change. And then we're going to figure out how that engine channels all this incredible energy, this right effort, not to get something, but to let go of everything.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so let's start with the why. Because if you don't get the why, none of the effort makes any sense. And the sources are, they're relentless on this point. Suffering comes from one place, this deep, ingrained habit of grasping.
And what are we grasping? We're grasping the very things we think make us who we are. The sources have a name for them, the 5 grasping aggregates.
Right. Form, which is our body, feeling.
Yeah, form is the physical body, feeling pleasant, unpleasant, or just neutral. Then there's perception, which is basically how we label things. After that comes choices, our intentions, our will, and finally, consciousness, the awareness itself. And we cling to all 5 of these as if they're permanent, as if we own them.
It's like building your house on a cloud. You're defining your whole identity, yourself, based on ownership of these 5 things that are constantly shifting.
Exactly. And if you look at just one of them, say consciousness, you can see how deep the error goes. We don't just have consciousness, we start to think that consciousness is our self, or that our self has consciousness, or that the self is somehow inside consciousness.
It's like trying to hold on to smoke in 4 different ways.
That's a perfect analogy. And the result is always the same.
Yeah.
You build a self that isn't really there, using materials that are, by their very nature, temporary.
That just sounds exhausting.
Yeah.
And the sources say that link is basically mechanical. Grasping leads to continued existence, which leads to suffering. The quote is, "One who exists falls into suffering. Death comes to those who are born." That's the cycle we're trying to break.
Yes. And this is where the whole idea of effort gets flipped on its head. The effort isn't about willpower, about fighting temptation. It's an intense, focused effort to just see clearly. The breakthrough, the aha moment, is when you have this sudden, profound insight that all of it, the form, the feeling, the perception, the choices, the consciousness, is all, without exception, impermanent, unsatisfactory, and perishable.
So if I'm trying to hold a glass of water and I suddenly realize the glass itself is dissolving in my hands.
Exactly. Your whole effort changes. You stop trying to own the container. And when you really, truly see that perishable nature, the grasping just stops. The anxiety ends, not because you've overpowered it with your ego, but because you've seen the truth of it with wisdom. That's the foundation for giving up all the sorrow, pain, and distress. The effort has to be about clarity, not acquisition.
Okay, so with the why established,
Yeah.
stopping the grasping by seeing impermanence, let's get into the how. The method itself, this mindfulness of breathing, it's not a casual thing. It starts with just setting up your environment.
It demands total dedication. The instructions are to physically remove yourself. Gone to a wilderness or to the root of a tree or to an empty hut. You sit down, cross-legged, set your body straight. So step 1 is seclusion. Step 2 is physical readiness.
And the training itself starts so concretely with the body.
Yes, absolutely. The first steps are all about stabilizing your physical presence. The instructions are just simple observation. Are you breathing in long or short, heavily or lightly? But then it gets deeper very quickly. You're told to practice, breathe in experiencing the whole body, and breathe out experiencing the whole body.
That's such a fascinating instruction. What does that even mean in practice? The breath is just in your lungs, right?
Well, it forces you to expand your awareness. The sensation of the breath is meant to, in a way, permeate the whole body, the tingling in your skin, the tiny movements in your limbs. The sources even say the breath is considered part of the body for this practice. The immediate goal here is stilling physical processes. You are methodically calming down every single physical vibration.
So you achieve this profound physical quiet first, but it doesn't end there. This is the pivot point, right?
Yeah.
From the body's foundation to the mind's architecture.
Right. The training moves up. After the body is stable, the focus shifts to breathing in and out while experiencing the mind, just watching the mental processes directly.
And then it gets proactive.
Yeah.
It moves to practicing gladdening the mind. What does that mean? Why would you intentionally gladden the mind? I thought this was supposed to be impartial observation.
It's a very skillful move. That deep stillness you've cultivated often generates a natural sense of well-being or even rapture. So the instruction to gladden the mind is like taking that feeling and using it as fuel. It's an antidote to any sleepiness or irritation that might be left. It's a deliberate pivot toward a positive state that makes the next step even possible.
Which is?
Practicing immersing the mind in samādhi. That's deep concentration, mental unification.
So it's controlled climb. Stabilize the body, watch the mind, cultivate joy, and then unify the mind.
Precisely. And the last step in this sequence is practicing to breathe in and out while freeing the mind. The whole arc is right there. And the immediate result of all this is entry into what are called the four absorptions, or jhanas.
And these sound like peak mental states, rapture, bliss, clarity, a unified mind. Is this the danger zone? Is this where the practitioner thinks, wow, I've done it, and gets stuck?
That is the exact danger. These states are incredibly powerful, and they're necessary for deep insight. But if you grasp onto the bliss, if you start thinking, I have achieved this amazing state, you've just swapped one form of clinging for another. You've traded clinging to a new car for clinging to a sublime mental state. And that brings us right back to our paradox.
Okay, here's where it gets really interesting for me. This practice is clearly systematic, it's rigorous, it creates these highly desirable states, it requires a massive output of energy. The sources say you have to be keen, aware, and mindful, rid of covetousness and displeasure for the world. That's a huge effort. How is that not just another ego trip?
Because the effort is defined by its direction. That's why it's called right effort, samavayoma. It's part of the Noble Eightfold Path. Worldly effort is all about acquisition, getting the better job, more money, higher status. Right effort aims for the complete opposite, relinquishment.
So the energy output is just as intense, but the vector is pointing in the opposite direction. It's pointed inward, away from ownership.
Absolutely. The whole path is described as relying on seclusion, fading away, and cessation, and it ripens as letting go. That's the only metric that matters. The effort is for attaining the unattained, achieving the unachieved, but the thing you're attaining is the state of non-clinging itself.
And the texts give you that motivational push, right? They compare the urgency to, what was it, putting out a fire on your own head or clothes.
Yeah, that urgency is critical because without it, the mind gets caught in one of two traps. The first is getting scattered, externally chasing desires, sensual pleasures. But the second one is the really sneaky one you just mentioned, getting stuck internally.
Let's stay on that internal trap. If the practice creates bliss, why is clinging to that bliss a failure?
Because clinging to bliss rebuilds the ego. It rebuilds the identity view. If your focus is on how good the bliss feels, I am experiencing such profound peace. You are just reaffirming the I who is having the experience. You've just refined your craving from something coarse to something very, very subtle.
So right, effort has to be this continuous moment-to-moment process of steering away from all grasping. Doesn't matter if it's external desire or internal bliss.
That is the work. That's the effort without an actor. It's the engine of awareness, making sure the mind is just observing, always letting go, and never ever settling down to claim ownership of its state. And the final instruction in the breathing practice itself says it all. You breathe in and out, observing letting go. When that constant relishing ends, the greed ends, and the mind is finally truly free.
This has been an incredible deep dive. We started with the problem, the suffering caused by self-view, by clinging to those 5 aggregates. Then we walked through the very practical, systematic steps of mindfulness of breathing. We saw how it moves from the physical body to the most subtle states of mind.
And in the end, we solved that paradox of effort. This powerful, intense, urgent energy isn't used for ego. It's not for achievement. It's channeled completely into relinquishment. The entire system, seclusion, fading away, cessation, it's all designed to ripen as one thing, letting go.
It totally redefines what success looks like in this kind of training. It's not about adding a new skill. It's about taking away the fuel.
It is. The path to freedom isn't about building something up. It's about removing the fuel for continued existence, which is craving and ignorance. And what's really fascinating is how they define mastery. The true master, when they emerge from the deepest states of meditation, they don't think, I'm now emerging from the cessation of perception and feeling.
Because that thought, I am emerging, would rebuild the very self they just let go of.
Exactly. That profound lack of self-reference, even about a massive spiritual achievement, that's the real sign of mastery. Their mind was already developed to lead to that state naturally. There was no I directing the exit.
That's a powerful idea to end on. And for you listening, maybe think about where in your own life, tackling a tough project, reacting to a frustrating situation, you're applying intense effort. Are you applying it to acquire something, to solidify an identity? Or could that same keen energy be applied toward just letting go of the need to grasp? The target of your effort really does define everything.
It does. That urgent, non-grasping energy might just be the most productive force we have.